Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Dominic Colón, and I am so honored to be moderating this Q&A on the 10th anniversary of Gun Hill Road for NewFest. And I am beyond excited to be interviewing the producer of Gun Hill Road, fabulous actor, producer extraordinaire, my mentor, Ron Simons. Give it up virtually for Ron Simons, y'all. Ron!
You are too kind.
I mean, I could have went on forever and ever and ever. That's how special you are to me, Ron.
You know I love you, right? You know
I love you more.
Everybody else just needs to know how much of mad love we got right
here. Well, they're about to see it. Ron, congratulations, 10 years. Can you believe it?
Isn't that crazy?
So crazy. I mean, I remember reading that script and I read the script and I broke out into tears. That's how good it was. I've never had that reaction in reading any sort of material. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you,
man. I mean, it premiered in theaters 10 years ago, and I just recently went back and rewatched it, and I was floored at just how it still holds up today. But to do what you all did 10 years ago, it was revolutionary.
Oh my God, absolutely. It was a game changer in that no one was telling stories about trans people back then. Do you know what I mean?
At all. In fact,
not trans. I mean, like the only thing we can say that in my awareness, can you hear me?
Yeah, I totally can hear you. Yeah.
Is like Paris is Burning, right? Where we had, light upon a person of color who was also trans or whatever. So I think way ahead of our time. And thank you for the kudos, but the bottom line, the love needs to go to the writer director, Rashad. Because he had the vision, the inspiration, because I don't know if you knew, but the story is inspired by a family member of his. So that came out of a very personal space. And I think it shows on screen. It feels very personal and intimate. And you know what I mean?
Well, totally. So take us back because I have a very specific question, because it is so beautiful and because it was so revolutionary. What was it like? Because, obviously as producers, you want to make sure one, you do a good job, but also you want to make your money back. Okay, so it's like, what was it like when you heard this pitch, and what made you jump in and say, yes, I want to make this movie with you when Rashad was it?
It wasn't a pitch at all, actually.
It wasn't? Okay.
No. I was having dinner with Rashad. I hadn't spoken to him for a long time. It happened to be on his birthday. We were some Chinese restaurant, like on 7th Avenue or something. And so we were just shooting the shit, oh, what's going on with you, man? And he said, well, he's at NYU getting his master's in directing. I said, oh, cool. And then he's like, he's working on his master's thesis, which, of course I should have known was a film. And I was like, oh, okay, so tell me a little bit about the film. And he gave me about 10, 15, 30 seconds on the film. And I was like, Now, it's important to know that at this point, I had just gotten my first film out the door up and running and in release. And it was, from a personnel point of view, a heralding experience. I was at the point where I wasn't sure I was going to continue on producing. Wow. So when I asked him to read it, it really wasn't about read it so I can produce it. I just wanted to read it. So I got that good girl home, wherever, and I was reading it. And like you, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this story has to be told. It has to be told right now. And immediately I was right back in it. So that kept me going. Had it not been for that film, I might not be a producer to this day.
Wow. Well, those unexpected blessings, man. You never know. Sometimes it's a dinner at
a little Chinese food restaurant.
That would change the course of your life, because now, not movies later, Tony Awards later, Ron Simons is doing his thing. So thank you, because I'm always impressed at the work that you do and the work that Simons has puts out there. But we'll talk more about that later. I still want to focus on Gun Hill Road, because when I cried, like I said, I read that script, and I remember it was such a big deal when you all cast a trans actor in that role, because again, for those of you who are watching, 2009, 2010, when you all were casting, nobody was doing this. This was prior to, or very few people were doing this, prior to Laverne Cox on Orange. So, what I want to ask is that, can you talk to me a little bit about like what were some of the conversations around casting, and what made you all in 2010 decide to go with casting, a trans actor in this role versus what most other projects in Hollywood were doing at the time?
Well, what was interesting is the story about how our director actually met Harmony.
Yeah, please tell that story because I know it and I want
it. Because, my mind says, okay, we're going to hire a casting director. And we did, to hire and find the right actor to play this. But in a brilliant move, Rashad went to, I think it was the Queens.
It was Queen's Pride. Yeah, it was Queen's Pride.
And he went there with the possibility of meeting or seeing someone who might fit this role. And he fell upon Harmony Santana. Now, when he met Harmony Santana was presenting as a boy, right? Mm-hmm. A very, very pretty boy, but a boy nonetheless. And so I don't know what he saw, but he looked in that child's face and said, "You're the one." He said, "I want you to read, for this show and this film." The man the boy back then had no acting experience to speak of. And so what makes this story really compelling is that while what you see Harmony go through as the character in this film is also her transitioning in real life at the same time.
At the same time.
Because she came in the first day of shoot, the first rehearsal as presented as boy. And by the time we were at Sundance premiering, she had made a good bit of her transition and, to who she is today. So it was a marvel and a privilege to be like right there, center stage, seeing this beautiful person, flower into who they were meant to be and who they were. It really is quite emotional for me because it's like, I too didn't know. I mean, I think I knew one trans person at that time. And so I felt like I was learning very firsthand in conversations with Harmony, about the film and outside, what it might be like, a taste of what it might be like. And listen, ever since then, my respect has grown for trans people, particularly trans men and women of color, because my God, this society is just so jacked up and they just are such danger. So for me to have to tell this story in a beautiful way that honors who she was, just gives me such great joy. Just such great joy.
I mean, you all do it with such, I want to say love, but at the same time, like it doesn't shy away from the realities of that experience. Like when we watched it, it was just, it's so violent, but at the same time, like you have these little moments where like that end, that last look that Harmony gives, her dad as he's being, pushed into the cop car. It just it gives me chills. It just gives me chills. Yeah, it's weird because it is a time capsule, like it's such a time of like what it was, because I mean, you have Harmony, but you have a who's who of like working actors, and then
I had no idea. Oh
Robin
my God.
Jesus, my best friend, shout out to Robin, Frankie G, Judy Reyes, Isa Morales, and it's just like, yes, some of the faces have gotten a little wrinklier.
Okay, now come on now.
And the phones, the phones give it away. Like, but other than that, there's no way to tell that this movie doesn't take place, like, in the current age, and that's also sad, because it just shows how much work we, need to do as a collective.
Absolutely. And I think the fact that as you say, it's as timeless today as it was when it was shot, says a lot about where, we've come some way, because now most people, I would dare say, had at least heard the term transgender. Though I recently heard statistically that 80% of people in America have never met a transgender person that they know of. So that means that 20% of the people have, but that's still such a small amount. And there's nothing as educational about learning a subculture as if you either are part of it or someone who can connect you to it.
Yeah.
I think part of the reasons why we're having such a difficult time with trans rights right now is because people just are ignorant of what trans people are going through, what the challenges are, and how politicized, who they are has become, right? It's like the right is now somehow, for some reason, made this a center stage issue about something around politics, and it's about human beings, not about fucking parts. Excuse me, sorry, New Fest, about politics. Do you know what I mean? And it's it angers me, but to your point, it was a start. So I'm glad to have been a voice.
Yeah, and the intersectionality of it all. Like one of the things that struck me is that we don't get to often see stories about poor and working class people, and like and having an experience of a trans woman of color who comes from a working class or from the Bronx or poor, whatever, however you want to, also the justice system and the just how fucked up it can be, you know what I'm saying? Because the fact that he got pulled back, he was looking for his daughter, it's just so complex and so layered. It always gives me chills, and it took me back.
Can I just say one more thing? You did ask me this. You said about the who's who. I just need to tell this little bitty story because we had Judy Ray. I was so thrilled that we had Judy Ray.
Yeah, because this was the height of Scrubs too.
Hello, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're gonna do our film? Thank you very much. And Eastside Morales. And can I tell you, both of those people turned out to be the coolest human beings who I stay in contact with to this day. I try to go when I get out to LA. I'm like, hey, what's up, Judy? You got some time for lunch, coffee, whatever. But my point is that it felt so good to have such a high caliber of actor in this show. Not all of whom, had reached that level quite yet, but who were kicking ass. There was not a weak link in that entire film. Not one.
At all. And kudos to you. I mean, let's shout out casting director Sig DeMiguel and Steven Vincent.
Go ahead, Sig.
Sig is always doing his thing. So, one of the things that I respect so much about you, because again, you are always, ahead of your time, Ron. Like this was done 10 years ago, and you've done so much work, since then. And I love and respect you and the work that Simon Says done. What's next? What are you guys working on next?
Well, we always got something on the stove. My grandmama did. She always had something cooking somewhere just in case folks stop by. Well, I'm working on bringing 2 shows to Broadway. I've been, in the last few years, focused more on Broadway than in film, though I do have a couple of film projects as well. But I'm really excited that both of my shows have got Broadway births. And they're both stories about, Black and brown people, which is so cool. One of them is Thoughts of a Colored Man, which is opening at the Golden, and it's an amazing piece because it's very textured, and by that I mean it's not just talking heads, soliloquies, scenes. It's scenes. It is scenes. It is monologue, but it's also movement, and it's poetry, and it's spoken word, and it's like it gets into, as the title says, the thoughts of a colored man. And as you may know, anyone who lives or is familiar with Black and brown communities know that African American men and Latino men are often accused, particularly African American men, of not sharing our feelings, not really opening up about where we are, what we're dealing with. And this show is the exact antithesis of that. It is all about what the inner life is of these 7 African American men over a 24-hour period in a gentrifying neighborhood in Brooklyn. And I'm so proud that not only are we telling this amazing story that will, I think, resonate, obviously, with people of color, but I think that given the times that we're in this post-racial moment, not post-racial, anti-racist movement that we're in, that it invites everyone. You don't have to be African-American to sit in, because we're inviting you into a living room and saying, sit down, get comfortable, and we're going to open up our hearts, our minds, our culture to you. So in the times when there is no more George Floyd and George Floyd's voice, here is 7 George Floyds, on stage giving testimony, right? And testament to the African-American man of the 21st century. And it just so happens that it's written by a Black man, it's directed by a Black man, it's produced by a Black man, and it stars all Black men. Okay, I don't know that ever happened.
I don't think so. Yeah, again, you're always
You know, and of course, you know, because I'm producing it, if you're going to tell a wide spectrum, you know, of any community, African American in particular, you know, you got to have some LGBTQ representation up in there. Because somebody asks, "Oh, is there an LGBTQ?" I'm like, "Do you know who I am? What do you mean?"
Did you read the bio? If you don't know, you better ask somebody.
I'm really excited about that. And then the other one is a revival of The Colored Girls.
Yes, which I saw off Broadway, and I was so excited.
And Tazaki Shange's seminal work, you know, that also has a small 7 actresses, you know, on stage that are all of color in this beautiful choreo poem that is just as timely now as when she first wrote it. Now, the thing about that show is that she has increased it and grew it over time, so that, for example, you know, when HIV/AIDS became an issue, particularly for Black women, she included that in the story. So it's a living, breathing entity, a thing. So, but I'm so thrilled that in the same season we'll have a play all about African American men and all about Black and brown women in the same season. That's like
beautiful,
you know?
Yeah. Again, Ron, you are always doing it. You are always blazing the trail, and I'm so like, yeah, I respect you so much. And don't forget New Fest alumni Tume Monk, which you also produced, which is now available on VOD.
That's right. And you know, I hear this amazing actor who sets the screen on fire. I think it was like Dominic. I gotta get that right. Anyway, this MF slays. And I just want to say for all of y'all who have not seen Tume Monk, I so suggest you see it, because this brother right here gives it, okay, on stage. And it's a beautiful film in general, of course. And I also feel like it is there wasn't a weak link there either. And so it's a beautiful story, and it's going to be streaming everywhere. I mean, Apple, I mean, everywhere, except for Netflix. I think it's everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere right now you can watch that if you're inspired to see more LGBTQ film. Gun Hill Road and Tume Monk were both the closing night gala films at New Fest.
That's right.
And you produced both of them, Ron.
I know. Isn't that crazy, though?
Ron, what are the lottery numbers, Ron? Come on. You just kill him for everything. So come on. Hit me with the lottery numbers, Baba. And also, you know, we have to give big shout outs to Harmony Santana and Robin De Jesus, who wish they could join, but we couldn't work it out. But we're sending them love. We're sending the whole cast of Gun Hill Road love, you know, commemorating this 10th anniversary screening. And we're sending all of you love as well. We are out of time, but we want to thank you all for tuning into this very special screening of this very special movie. Continue to check out all of the other offerings that we're giving this weekend, as well as all other programming New Fest is giving. Ron, thank you so much. I love you. I'll give you a call soon.
Let's talk soon.
Later.